Is now broadcasting. Okay, yeah, see, now it's showing up when I open it up on YouTube. So
Okay.
That's good.
so that's weird. Okay, well, I guess now I'll go and do the back end stuff and we can actually get started. It must have just been confused because, like I said, we streamed on the PS4 last time.
Yeah.
So. All right, be right back again.
Chat test. Okay, that worked.
All right, we seem to actually be operating correctly now. So hello, everyone, and welcome back to another thought-provoking game night. I am Provoking, once again joined by John McClane himself, Coca-Cola.
Well, yippee-ki-yay. And I can't say the other thing because it's not R-rated.
And then also joining us is the closest thing we have to an Xbox fanboy, so we can remain a little fair and balanced here today, Daxter Corp HD.
Thank you for calling me closest to. I wouldn't consider myself too much further past that.
Yeah, it's not John Master Chief himself, but it's the second best thing.
So today, if you hadn't noticed, we are doing something a little bit different, but not that different. We are actually playing Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, which is a game that I've actually never really played before. I think the same goes for Daxter, but Loca's played a bit. We are playing this because unless you either don't care or live under a rock, you're probably aware that the Microsoft's bid to buy out Activision Blizzard King is most likely going through within like the next couple days. The FTC was defeated in court. The UK regulator, the something or other that spells CMA, it is capitulating. It's basically rolling over and showing its belly. And well, as of like 2 hours ago, PlayStation has signed a 10-year deal with Microsoft for Call of Duty to stay on PlayStation. What does this possibly mean for the industry? Well, I think potentially it could be like the start of a Cold War. Hey, interesting that we're playing this, and it's out on PlayStation Plus at this time. I wonder if that was planned at all. So, so we'll go ahead and get right into it. I'm going to remove free for all from the quick match since we probably can't do that since we're at a party, and we'll go ahead and hit play. So if you're new around here, we've been talking about this basically since the day it was announced, because it was announced and then very quickly we afterward we played a little bit of Caldera, and we had a good like 3-hour conversation about it. I don't really think my opinion on the deal has changed much in that year or so since that. What about you guys? I guess we'll start with Loka. It's like, what do you think about this deal, and has your opinion changed at all along the way?
My opinion hasn't changed, but I think I've had to start looking at this kind of, okay, now it's happening. What is actually gonna be? I'm trying to essentially think of
What was that?
Look at what mode we're playing.
I did. I just now realized. I just saw the map name. I didn't see the mode name as well. So that's really funny. All right, first game in. Let's do it. All right, we're already going to get sweaty talking about what we're talking about. Let's get the other type of sweaty while we do
might
it.
as well.
You know what? Maybe this acquisition wasn't such a bad idea after all.
And we've already lost a teammate. I think he fell down to his death.
Oh, nice.
Seems about right. My opinion hasn't changed. I was negative back then because I saw a whole bunch of problems that could, or potential problems. Now that it's actually happening, while I'm still sticking to that standpoint, I have been kind of forced to try to look at it at a more pragmatic level, where it may not be. Okay, to put it this way, I picture myself, kind of the worst case scenario about this, and
we'll beat them next time.
On top of that, also, okay, what's likely to happen? Or most likely to happen, and that's not gonna be as bad as my worst case scenario, even though I am, I don't know how to put it really.
You're worried that the worst case scenario is the most likely scenario?
No, actually not at this time, but it's something I'm thinking. Okay, if I keep thinking it's gonna be as bad as it possibly can be, then maybe anything like the actual outcome will actually be nowhere near as bad as that. But I'm still overall, I'm, to put it this way, I don't think it's gonna end up as bad as I think it might, but I'm still thinking. I don't even know anymore. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to think about it more pragmatically now, and it's probably not going to be as bad as I envision it to be, but I'm still, very negative and definitely concerned, to put it that way.
Okay, so I guess we'll move on. It's like, Daxter, what do you think about this whole thing?
Well, I've kind of had to have a little think about it. I think at this point I'm on team, I don't care, just let this all end. I think that we might be thinking at this in a bit too of a negative way.
We'll beat them next time.
Don't know how to. Sorry, I'm struggling with words today. We may be overreacting just a little bit, but I'm going to try to look at this as positively as I can, and what I think is going to happen is there's going to have to be a step up on Sony's part to make some good exclusives. Now, if I want to bring in the negative, because I just thought of this possibility, they're going to start buying studios up.
Yes.
Which I believe is our worst case scenario.
And this is where we enter the title of the video, the console Cold War. Because, that does, it does kind of become a little bit of mutually assured destruction, where it's like, where Sony could go, oh, well, you just bought this gigantic, you just bought Activision, well, guess what, we'll buy Ubisoft. And we'll make you sign a 10-year deal if you want Assassin's Creed on your consoles going forward. And then Microsoft would then go out and buy EA, and then Sony would go out and buy Take-Two, and then you end up with two companies owning everything but Nintendo. And or who knows? I don't know. Maybe Sony would just buy Nintendo and make that their new handheld. So it's like that. It does the continuing escalation is something that I'm worried about, and that's this continuing consolidation. That's why I was like against this deal from the word go. It's like I explained a long while ago. It's like if Call of Duty were to disappear off of PlayStation, honestly, I would be a little a teensy bit miffed because I like Modern Warfare, but I only buy the game like once every 3 or 4 years, depending on who the developer is anyway. So if it were to completely disappear, that just gives me more time to play other games that I also like, so I wouldn't be that put out by it. It wouldn't be that big a deal for me. So this is more, I've been more concerned about this and have not been happy with the way it's going because of the potential effects it could have on the industry as a whole. And like the whole reason that Microsoft wants to do this is to buffer up Game Pass, which I just don't agree with that as a business model like at all. So everything I've seen has just kind of been reconfirming my worst fears. Like this is not going in a good direction, and we are in for potentially we are in for some rough waters ahead, so to speak.
Yeah, I think, and this is one of those, I don't know if it's not necessarily a silver lining, but it does seem, at the very least, that, well, we don't have to worry about COD disappearing from PlayStation, even though, I'm with Prentice in that, I would be sad momentarily, but there's, like, a lot of other games to play. If I really want to play, I mean, like if talking about Ubisoft, if I assuming Microsoft would have taken away COD from PlayStation, if I really wanted to play something similar, I could just download X Defiant whenever it comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So there are
or Rainbow
options.
Six Siege again.
Or Siege again. Or get back on Battlefield, even though it's a little bit different. But there are other games. So that wouldn't really be too big of an issue. And if anything, I mean, I've kind of already gone over that one when they bought Bethesda, and I realized that well, there goes the Elder Scrolls 6 on the PlayStation. That made me real upset, although maybe not as upset as it would have done like 10 years ago, because now I just might think, and I have actually considered that. I don't know. Maybe I'll buy an Xbox. I have. That's the benefits of having a big boy job these days.
That is very true. But it is the benefits of having a big boy job. But I mean, it does at the same time. And this is where we get into like the whole console wariness of it. And I try to stay away from that because I think. And another thing that's irritated me about this whole thing is that it really has devolved into less about, hey, how's this going to affect the business side of things as an industry, because we all want to play good video games, and it's turned more into Xbox versus PlayStation fanboy wars, which I am not pleased about, really. So we have to be careful when talking about this, but
absolutely.
It does play into their hands. It's like, oh, I do want to play this game, maybe I'll buy an Xbox. It's like, well, that's what they're wanting. That's what part of the reason they're wanting to purchase this company and everything. But at the same time, I think, and the reason I don't think myself a purely why I don't think that I am a PlayStation fanboy the way some of these other people online tend to be sometimes is because I have been interested in purchasing an Xbox and playing in the ecosystem for a while. It's just been a matter of time and money that has kept me from doing that as of yet, because I look at Halo and I go, I would like this. I should play this someday. But it really is just like, well, when I barely have the time to play the games I already I want to play on the consoles I already have. Why do I need to buy a third box and more games to want to play and to have sit there and not do anything? So it really is a matter of, it's like also, being pragmatic for myself. It's like, I don't have time for this. And that's...
Oh. Okay. How? Would have helped if the kill cam actually was better in showing how that happened.
Don't you love that when the kill cam just doesn't show you really what happened?
Yeah. Add to your point. I've also been on, and honestly, this whole getting an Xbox, that's been something that I actually have considered back and forth since. I mean, ever since I had a few years into the PS3, because as you said, Halo, that's like something I think I would like as well. But more, and I've seen that exact same thing myself when I go under Twitter replies. Like I don't know why I do that sometimes, but I do under these articles, or I go on gaming websites and look at the comment section, and it's basically all about as you said, it seems to brew out the console war. There's a lot of Microsoft this, Sony that, but of course, we do have to acknowledge those two entities, but I also feel that only talking about it in terms of it's Microsoft versus Sony, that makes it a bit short-sighted, because if anything, the fact that it's Microsoft that's buying Activision and Sony, have to step up, that to me is actually irrelevant. Which company does what?
What was that? You saw that too?
Yes. Cold War physics, I guess.
Yay!
It worked different in the 80s.
Yeah, it did. It's like that was an invisible hook pulling them from the left center stage.
I got deep cover and slammer.
Yeah, I mean, really, the crust of this is, think away the companies. This is just big company buys another big but slightly smaller company, and another big company is gonna be affected by it, and at the end of the day, also the consumers in, whether that's a positive or negative. According to the judge, there was the consensus that this deal will be bad for Sony but good for gamers. I don't really see or understand that, because I mean, it in terms of Call of Duty, like, it doesn't really change anything. They talk about how it's gonna be on Nintendo consoles, and it's gonna be available for all these different cloud services, which I'm like,
which don't really exist yet.
Yeah, like I looked at that chart that apparently that Microsoft had shown to kind of prove their point of, like, see if the acquisition goes through, it's gonna be COD will be available on all these different services, and I'm like, all these cloud things, I've never heard of them before. And more to the point, if I mean, sure, there are good reasons, I guess, to buy into one of those, but at the same time, if you have any of those, then you probably have a console or PC gaming PC anyway, so it's kind of a weird thing. Nintendo one, okay, that makes a bit more sense. And I suppose Game Pass technically counts as well, since I mean, it is a lower price. You don't have to purchase a $70-80 game, so I guess it is a bit more accessible. But then, like all those other options were like, I'm not so sure this really, how truthful this really is. But I suppose in a sense, you know, it does make COD more accessible.
Yeah.
On other places.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like, does it really though? If they, for instance, were to take it away from Sony platforms, then you have not made it more available on more platforms either. You've actually taken away things. And that was actually something that bugged me when they bought Bethesda, in that, you know, oh, we're bringing, you know, games to more gamers, but I'm sitting there like, you just removed, you know, like Sony ain't getting Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
or Starfield.
Starfield is bye-bye.
And I'm like, how is that giving it to more players? Like, that's...
Well, and I think that's been like a little bit of a canary in the coal mine for this whole thing, is that they say one thing out of one side of their mouth and then they immediately turn around and do the other. And I feel like, and I mean, and if there's been anything positively 100% good out of all of this, it's just the large amount of documents that have come out that we've been able to see candidly what both of these companies really think and how they think of each other. Because there, for a brief moment, also Dax, you haven't said anything in a while, so I don't know if you're muted and you've been trying to say something.
Oh, I'm not.
But okay.
It's okay.
Okay. Just double checking. Because there, for a brief moment, it kind of seemed like it's so cool how the video game industry gets along and everyone's kind of kumbaya and in this together. Because I sent it in our private Discord chat, where it's like in 2021 at the Game Awards, you had Phil Spencer, Sean Layden, and Reggie come out at the Game Awards together on stage. These are the big CEOs of Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo, and they were like, hey, the pandemic sucks, but you know what? We all love video games. Video games are great. Yay, hooray, let's have fun and play video games, guys. And that, I've described that a little bit as the Yalta Conference, and where everyone did kind of get along, or at least they put up the front that they got along, and they were kind of in it for the greater good and everything. And then two of those people left, and then it's immediately afterward, like, the politics changed, and now we've got bitter rivalries going on. We are in a Cold War, which is, hey, look at what we're playing again. So that part I had always been thinking to myself, but the fact that Cold War was out on PS Plus was such a serendipitous coincidence for that. So now it's like, now we're seeing, it's like, oh yeah, Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer like despise one another and they hate each other's guts, and it's like, I don't care about your deal, I just want to block your merger. And Matt Booney over at Xbox saying we could easily outspend PlayStation if we wanted to, and it's like all these different things are just I think bonkers statements to actually be candidly hearing. It's like, I mean, you imagine the stuff is going on behind the scenes anyway, but actually hear it, it's just like, wow, okay. It's like, I can't believe we're hearing this. So that stuff is all crazy, but so I do want to kind of dig into more about so the more recent developments that happened today about the 10-year deal that supposedly has just been signed. Because at first we didn't know how long it was, but then like a half hour before we started this, there was a report that just came out that confirmed it was a 10-year deal. I'm assuming.
Oh, okay.
So,
I know the. Of course, I know the deal because I mean I sent that in our group chat, so it would be weird if I didn't know about it. But I actually didn't know about that it actually was a 10-year plan. I just knew it was, we've come to an agreement to keep COD on PlayStation. But
so
that was about it.
5 or was that like 3 good Call of Duty titles maybe?
Maybe.
4?
Yeah, maybe. If we're lucky.
Yeah. Finally.
Yeah. So, yeah,
Okay,
we played that one to the bitter end.
This game just feels off.
Yeah, that's so.
Don't
Yeah,
say.
when we're done with all of this, I think we should talk about the game a little bit because boy, do I have opinions just from like the hour and a half I've played.
Also, I do want to just bring out up front. I did build my PC recently, so I may also that might have also affected my opinions on the matter. So just complete cards cards open. That's not the phrase.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Loka, what do you think about Sony signing a 10-year deal for Call of Duty to keep it on PlayStation?
I mean, I'm not too surprised since, I mean, I guess they didn't really have any choice. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to say about it since, I mean, I'm comparing this again with, the buyout of Bethesda, because while I was concerned about, maybe COD going away on PlayStation, partly because I do enjoy some of the games, but also just like the ramifications on the industry, like what would it mean if such a big player just, or a big game is straight up removed. But based on all the things I've seen, like the deal doesn't actually surprise me that much because they have actually been like very, very open about the fact that they wanted COD to still be on PlayStation, or at least not remove it, in a much more direct way compared with when they were buying Bethesda, when they gave this very vague, we'll be on a case-by-case
Well,
basis.
and then it's like we believe that we have legacy titles on the system that will remain, and it's like, well, what does that mean?
Like it was all very vague compared with this, where they definitely, and it also wouldn't be a first considering they did buy Minecraft, and you can still, Minecraft is still on all the different platforms, new games, i.e. that one weird Diablo clone
Diablo Light
was released on everything. So there is a precedent for Microsoft actually, not having things exclusive that they buy, but there's also a precedent of them making things exclusive once they buy it. So, but considering the how big COD is, I'm not too surprised by the deal, especially since, I mean, Sony definitely wants to have it left, to keep having COD, and if that means signing the deal, again, that's also them being pragmatic. I'm thinking that, well, the deal won't be blocked, so I guess we have to make the best out of it by signing this deal, because otherwise we won't get COD at all. And they're probably thinking, rather have COD while losing extra money, as opposed to having
I got a trophy.
not COD at all and not getting any of the money.
See, and you talking of precedent, I think that's where my opinion on this comes in, and I am actually surprised that they signed the deal, because based on everything you just said, that Xbox has said, we want to. It's like in terms of the consoles, PlayStation is the largest player base on console. It's like I think it's the largest of the three of Xbox, PC, and PlayStation. I think PlayStation is the largest. So it's like it would not be financially feasible for us to remove the game from PlayStation. So it's like why? So you could rest assured that it's going to stay there. If I'm Sony, I hear that and I go, okay, put your money where your mouth is. We're not going to sign any deal. If you really feel that way, then you're not going to remove it, and we don't have to do diddly squat about signing a law-binding agreement, because they didn't make them, because Microsoft has never made Sony sign a deal for PlayStation for Minecraft. It's like Minecraft is just, there's just been this kind of, it's just always consistently been on the system. It's like they didn't have to sign anything for that, so why should Call of Duty be any different? Because Minecraft still sells a ton. There was a thing I sent in our group chat yesterday about the top 3, it's like in 2022 the top 3 downloaded games on PlayStation were Modern Warfare 2 in the first place and Minecraft in third. So two-thirds of Sony's top downloads on PlayStation in the year of 2022 were Microsoft titles, or at least soon will be once. Well, what was the second place?
The second place was Modern Warfare 2 PS4.
I think that was counted in as still Modern Warfare 2, regardless of PS4, PS5 was in the first place spot.
Was it?
I believe so. Hold on, let me check that.
Yeah, thank you.
Scrolling up very slightly. In 2022, the most downloaded PS5 game in the US was Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The most downloaded PS4 game was also Modern Warfare 2. Okay, and then the third most downloaded PS4 game, Minecraft. Either way you slice it. It's like the most downloaded PS5 game, Call of Duty. The most downloaded PS4 game, Call of Duty. The third most downloaded PS4 game was Minecraft. So it's still and here's the thing, that's technically across both PS4 and PS5 because there is no PS5 version of Minecraft. And that was a funny thing from the FTC hearings, is that they're like, Sony's being mean and they're not sharing specs with us, so we can't give them a PS5 version of Minecraft. It's like, well, there's no Xbox Series X version of Minecraft either, so it's not like you're really doing much with it right now, guys. So it's like if there was an Xbox Series X version and it was already out, but you hadn't done the PS5 version yet, then you maybe have an argument. But you haven't done anything with Minecraft in a little while, really. So, dang it, didn't think he saw me. But so yeah, it's like why should they sign an agreement? Because by doing nothing, they win either way, really. Because they prove a point either way. It's like, if they don't sign an agreement and Microsoft doesn't remove the game, it's like you need us for this, because we are your biggest market for this game. And then if they don't sign the agreement and in say 2 years Microsoft goes, you know what, we're going to remove it, then they go, see, we told you guys about this years ago. We knew they would do this and cut us out, and now look, it's happened. See what a big mistake it was trying to see what a big mistake it was letting them have Call of Duty. So I feel like by Activision signing the agreement to allow it to be on the console for 10 years, that just gives Microsoft even more power over them, because eventually they're going to have to now a lot could happen in 10 years, but it's like, there could also come a point in time where as the holders of the IP, they could also say, hey, we want to renegotiate because things are changing, you're no longer the market leader, and we think things should be a little more. We think that you guys, it's like we're not getting a very good deal. It's like Microsoft could say that we don't think we're getting a good deal out of this because you were the market leader whenever you signed it, and that's not the case now. So we could maybe make a little bit more. There might be some clauses or something. We know nothing about how the document actually reads or what it says, so it's all guesswork on our part. But flamethrower, yes, yes. Oh,
I mean, you got them.
yeah, I got both. So eventually, I feel like we could have an Empire Strikes Back situation where Sony and Microsoft are at the negotiating table, and Sony could go, it's like, hey, that wasn't part of our deal, and Microsoft goes, I've altered the deal. Pray I don't alter it any further. And it's like, and there's to be pretty much literally nothing to stop them from doing that, especially because in Daxter, unless you have anything to say about your opinions on them signing the deal, we could move on to my next point.
Not really.
Okay, so that'll move on to my next point, is that I can see that happening because of what Microsoft is trying to do, and that is trying to change the industry overnight and change the medium, change how we interact with and play our video games. And the Game Pass service, and why I don't like that. I don't like that business model at all. And I think there's a lot of evidence, especially currently, to say this doesn't necessarily work very well, or at least it doesn't in its current form, and you need to make big changes. And I don't see them making the big changes that would help that, because it's like, look at what's happening with streaming services for movie and TV right now. It's like they're basically all in trouble in one shape, way, form, or another. It's like you see Warner Brothers Discovery hemorrhaging so much money that they are literally having to cancel TV shows and movies that are finished and never release them for tax write-offs, such as with Batgirl, and then Disney's doing the same thing with Disney Plus. They're making whole movies and TV shows, and they're out for, a year, 2 years, 3 months, and then they're leaving the service, and it's like unlikely to ever come back, and they're just going to sit on a vault somewhere. And it's like there's multiple reasons they're doing this, but one of it is so that they don't have to pay residuals. So it's like, so how does? Oh no, Daxter, your care package. It's stuck up on the building.
No!
I aimed it specifically away from that.
Okay, that didn't work. Hang on.
Death machine! No. Hold on.
I don't think it has any physics
tied to it.
No, it has no physics. That's annoying. Way to go, Treyarch.
If this was Modern Warfare, then maybe we could get it done.
I don't even think Modern Warfare would have had it.
Modern Warfare you can, because if you watched my last Modern Warfare video, I got a care package out of a tree with a fire shotgun.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah.
And I've also seen a clip, not from Modern Warfare, but from Vanguard, and it's on the same engine. I've seen someone hit a care package mid-air with a throwing knife, so there is definitely some physics.
Oh, I think I've seen that. Yeah, and it goes spiraling through the air.
Yeah.
Switching sides.
So anyway, back to my point is that part of the reason there's a couple big reasons they want Activision, Blizzard, King. Honestly, I think they could probably care less about Blizzard, but they definitely want Activision and King, and the reasons being is that they want to use Call of Duty to prop up Game Pass, and then they want the monthly users for mobile from King, from like Candy Crush, and then also it's like, did you guys see how many people play Call of Duty Mobile on like a monthly basis? It's like 43 million or something on a monthly basis. Monthly, not in a year, monthly. It's like more people play it on their phone than they do on a console nowadays, which I think is bonkers. But hey, that's the world we live in, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not too surprised, considering we are, especially at least given, I think, different different countries kind of have different income levels,
and that is something to be considered. Is that I think a lot of that is probably from like India and other more developing places from there, because they can get a smartphone for cheaper than they can a $600 console, basically. So I understand it, but still, I can't believe those numbers. I think some of those numbers are absolutely bonkers. So
oh no, it's crazy from our perspective. And I'm not saying that you have no right to be flabbergasted.
So yeah, for sure that's one of the things they want, and so it's like ever since they announced Game Pass, it's like at first I didn't really pay much attention to it because I'm just not really that plugged into the Xbox ecosystem, and it's like, okay, hey, they're trying something new, good for them. But now that they've been doing stuff like this, and it's clear that they're buying an entire publisher just to try to prop up what has to be a service that is not profitable. Because Netflix took like a decade to be profitable, and it's Netflix.
Yeah.
So it's like the only reason Game Pass can even really exist is because of Microsoft. It's like if it was Xbox itself, trying to prop it up, then it wouldn't be working because Xbox I don't think would have the capital to do so. But because Xbox is a Microsoft owned subsidiary, then it's like it works. It's fine. It's like they can the Microsoft can spend money to keep Game Pass running if there's only 3 people and a goat using the service. So it's like
and I will say one thing that I'm not concerned about the Game Pass thing until games are specifically tied to Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recall seeing any. It'd be like, it's kind of like, we should be worried about the whole streaming only and not having Netflix originals and not having anywhere else to view them.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that too. Well, and Activision itself on its own was already moving in that direction, considering Modern Warfare 2, the disc is useless and it's just an install. It's not even an install; it's just an unlock code. It's like that's it.
That's a more terrifying precedent, but honestly, that's what's true for all of these, and I guarantee you this will only encourage pirates more and other people to break in, especially whenever the life of the system is kind of at death's door, and just start making backups.
I mean, we can just look at the movie industry. You know what reduced the number of, or reduced piracy? Netflix releasing. And then it went back up because all these different companies were making their own streaming services. HBO and Discovery, Disney Plus, Amazon. So now it's back to, the piracy life, I don't know, the proper...
piracy life for me.
Yeah. And
I have a friend who kind of just has to do that because it's getting ridiculous.
Well, and so that's also just another issue with like where we are with like the entertainment industry and media in general, is that it's like streaming services are supposed to be like the answer to cable, but now everyone's kind of got their own, they're trying to all get a piece of the pie, and so now it's like we basically just got cable again, but it's on the internet. You just have to pay your internet bill. You don't have to worry about a cable installation unless you want fiber optic, in which case you do have to.
Yeah. And it is still actually way cheaper. I saw cable prices recently.
Oh no, yeah, cable is definitely still crazy more expensive than streaming. I was more talking about the complicated nature of it rather than pricing.
Mission clock is running down.
Oh, to your right.
Yep, I knew he was there.
Okay.
Flamethrower available for use. Flamethrowers up.
So it's what they're trying to. It's like if their plan works and like they get because just think about it. It's like how. What happens if Game Pass becomes like the dominant way to play video games, to start to moving in that direction? It's a massive shift in the industry, and I thought it was very telling that Jim Ryan, who he was under oath, so he couldn't really lie, but he said that the big publishers, none of them actually like Game Pass because they don't make any money off of it. And then that was reiterated by Bobby Kotick, who said if he were on his own, he would never put Call of Duty on PlayStation, but he has to appease his shareholders by selling his company to the other company that wants to make Game Pass a thing. So I mean, the whole thing to me just really does feel like Microsoft is trying to. The word gets thrown around a lot, and a lot of people use it more loosely than they should, but I kind of feel like that it's Microsoft trying to create a monopoly on the industry. That's like, hey, if you want video games, you have to come to us. Yeah, there's other developers and publishers and stuff, but it's like all their games are on Game Pass. Like, yeah, you could buy a video game, but who wants to buy a video game when you can spend $15 a month and get hundreds of video games? Even though, and this is also an issue I have, it's like I understand streaming services for movies and TV. I actually do, even though they're all going through their issues at the moment. But that has more what to do with actually paying people what they're worth and residuals and making sure that the content is there in perpetuity rather than the idea being bad. But I think for video games, streaming services is a bad idea because think about it, it's like, Loka, just as a quick question, have you finished Horizon Forbidden West?
No.
It's like how far in that game would you say you are?
Why do you have to insult him like this? This isn't funny.
That's a good question, actually.
Just as a general guess.
Maybe. At most, I'd say 1/3, but I'm gonna go 1/4 maybe into the game.
Okay, see, so, and you say I'm making fun of Loka, but I'm going to now turn around and make fun of myself. So I think I'm only about halfway through the game. So I'm not really that much further than him. And it's like that game came out last February, and neither of us have finished it because the game. First of all, the game is huge. Also, it's like we don't really. It's like there's so many games to distract us. So I feel like that in all honesty, that I really think in all honesty that that's like, it may be packaged as a good deal for consumers, but a streaming service for video games is actually is actually a waste of money for consumers because you're paying for hundreds of games a month that you're never going to play. And it's like, and you could maybe say the same for like HBO Max or Netflix or Disney Plus, but if you do decide to watch any of those things, watch anything on any of those services, it's going to take you a fraction of the time to get through them, and thus is not as big a waste of money as having hundreds of $60 to $70 games on the service that you're never going to touch. It's like, oh yeah, I want to play Far Cry 5. It's like, and it's right here on Game Pass. It's like, I'll get to that eventually, but I'm just going to play multiplayer Call of Duty for ages. And never touch that. It's like, oh hey look, this the Witcher 3 is on Game Pass. I've always wanted to try that game, and now I can try it whenever I want to because it's I have Game Pass and I pay the subscription. So it's like, yeah, let's give that a whirl here one of these days. And it's like, you know what, I kind of got distracted with Minecraft, so. I guess not. So it's like when do you?
What are you, 5 years old?
So I feel like with video games, when you have when you buy it, you have a monetary incentive to try and actually finish it. As it's like, now, does it always happen? No, but it's like that's more a self-control thing. But you waste less, and that's why I also, it's like, now, not to say that these are bad, but that's why I also sort of kind of have a little bit of a problem with sales on the PSN.
I'm so close.
It's like sales on the PSN and like Steam and stuff, where it's like, oh yeah, here's a bunch of games for cheap that I want to play, and then it's like I own all of the Arkham games, but I've only ever played Arkham Knight. I've never played Asylum or City, and it's like,
you're disgusting.
It's like, and I do actually want to play. I want to go through and I want to play those games because I like Batman and I liked Arkham Knight. So it's like, and I want to play the games that a lot of people consider to be better. But But it's like, dang it, I like Call of Duty a lot, and then there's these first-party PlayStation games that I want to play, and it's like, oh, hey, look, I got God of War Ragnarok for Christmas. Have I touched that? No. And it's like, I want to play it. I want to get to it, but it's like there's so much to distract me. So it's like, so what? Now I'm going to subscribe to Game Pass for argument's sake a year, and every month now there's hundreds of games sitting there that I'm not going to touch. It's like, for someone that has like nothing but extra spare time, I guess, and it can really actively sit down and play all these games, sure, I guess it makes sense. But for the vast majority of people, it's really just kind of a waste of money, and it's not only is it a waste of money for the consumer, but it's a waste of money for the for the publishers that are giving these games over to Game Pass, unless of course it's it's like, again, I mean sure, for Witcher 3, it's like, that game came out in 2015 or whatever, so it's like, okay, it's like, yeah, let's put that on Game Pass. Maybe some other people will play it and they'll want to buy the DLC to go with it. That's not included with Game Pass. We'll make a little extra buck or two off of it. But then for
Enemy spy plane inbound.
putting a new game on Game Pass, it's like, it's like, how much are you getting paid? Like, say the new Assassin's Creed is day one Game Pass exclusive. It's like, how much money are you making on that one-time flat fee to put it on Game Pass? And it's like, and how much could you be making otherwise by selling 4 million units of it at $70? So it's like, you better hope that like a whole lot of people are on Game Pass to play it in order to get your money back and your money's worth it. And then as far as I know, if the game exceeds that number, it's like you still only get paid the one flat fee. So if I'm wrong about that, then I would love to know. But it's like, it's from everything I've seen, I've researched it. It seems like that. It's like RCXD strikes again. But anyway, from everything I've researched, it's like, from the information that is out there, it seems like it is just like one quick flat fee. It's like, hey, you get this much, and if the game, and it's like, for a smaller developer like an indie, it's like, it's like, okay, maybe that could be good, because if the game doesn't do well and you potentially made more money than you would have otherwise. But for a big publisher that it's like is spending $200 million plus to make a video game, it's like, well, you better be hoping that you're getting $200+ million to put the game on Game Pass, because otherwise it's like you're not going to make any money off of it otherwise if it's an exclusive. I just don't see, if you're a company, if you're a big publisher in the industry that makes most of the games that people play, it's like, I don't necessarily see how that's a service that makes sense. And it's based on the testimony from Jim Ryan and Bobby Kotick. It seems like the publishers kind of agree with that, and it's like that's what their sentiment is, because like they don't like Game Pass apparently. So I don't know. It seems like that this is like Microsoft's last hurrah to. It's like, if this does not work, and this does not, putting Call of Duty on Game Pass, if this does not boost Game Pass's numbers, then no one cares about Game Pass. And that's a service that's doomed to fail, and it's never going to amount to anything if you can't even get people onto the service with Call of Duty. And so they're going to have spent, $68 billion or whatever the amount was for, a failed experiment basically, and then what do they do to recoup their cost? In 7 years, if they realize that the plane didn't work and streaming services are going the way of the dodo, and like maybe you're getting more curated stuff that coming out or something like that, and Game Pass just has not worked, it will not survive. It's like, so, and you're still out a whole lot of money. It's like, what do you do? It's like, since you're Microsoft, do you just Do you just kind of suck up, the sunk cost because you're Microsoft and you make because the money that they were spending to buy Activision, they made back in a quarter. That's how much money they make annually. They spent a quarter earnings on Call of Duty and they made it back immediately, basically, once the quarter was over. So it's like, I guess they could eat it, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like you would. Maybe as your gaming division, as Xbox, it would be all right. Well, you better be, turning a little bit better of a profit if you want to keep operating with the independence you have or whatever. It's like, well, so what do you do then? Make COD exclusive maybe? It's like, oh, but we had a deal. It's like, well, yeah, the deal changed. So it's like that's of course, as we've been saying, like total worst case scenario talk of course, and so it's like that's just kind of some of my rambly thoughts on it, if any of that made any sense.
It made total sense.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if I may add one quick point, what if the merger failed? As in, they're in about a year or two in, maybe even 7, like the number you're throwing around. What if they're in there and they're like, okay, this isn't working. Activision wants out. Or Microsoft wants out, because this has happened before.
I mean, that's true.
Lest we forget with Time Warner and AOL.
Bungie and Microsoft.
And then then Bungie and Activision.
Yeah.
And then Bungie and I don't know, Rockstar.
I don't know. Give it 3 or 4 years of maybe Bungie and Sony.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, mergers rise and fall really quickly.
I mean that is true. I mean, I feel like the price tag and then the amount of time and the lawyers they put into this, it's like they're definitely going to try to stick it out. But it's like, I suppose it's possible that they get divorced eventually. It's like, I mean, you're right. It does happen.
Like my parents said. Sometimes it just doesn't work out like that.
Okay, I know that's not true with your parents, but I mean, yeah, that's. Oh, hey, good job, Luca.
Oh, and here comes the second best part.
That was a great part.
Ah, the voice line. So yeah, if the merger is like split up in like 5, 6, 7 years, however, it's like at that point, then it's like I feel like that's just going to be egg on Microsoft's face, really.
Yeah, I really do think that we're not giving enough credence to the thought that this could just fall apart, right?
Not again.
What's with you at RCXDs at the beginning of the round?
This is just like the original Black Ops.
It does roll.
The care package?
The care package marker does roll.
Oh, the care package marker, got it.
Yeah, the marker stays
Hold up, that's our flag.
Or there is a, Oh, great. I should have re-rolled that.
We have the enemy flag. Hostile spy plane established.
Okay, that's a friendly RC.
Ow, ow. Quit shooting me. Thank you for dying. Please come again. Oh, it's the guy with our flag. Ah.
Dang it.
Hostile flag returned.
TACOM, get spy plane eyes above.
Mission's going pear-shaped.
Ah.
Fighting.
Dang it. What happened?
Oh, it's me.
Oh, it is you.
Well, so that was a Proxmine kill. And then I got these guys. Oh, it's still going. Oh, no, okay, now it's over. See, at first I thought it was about to. I thought for a second it was about to, because then I ran up the stairs and I killed a guy with dual wheel pistols. But then no, it was just wanted to show me turn around a couple times. Got it. Oh, careful, Loco. There's another RCXD on the move.
Oh, that's right.
There's two of them.
I'm taking the high ground.
sorry. Friendly shot the RCXD and it blew up in his face.
Flamethrowers up.
Oh man. This game is like playing arthritis. Everything feels stiff and nothing feels natural.
Yep.
So I guess to wrap up, because I've been very anti Microsoft and Xbox on this because I've disagreed with the deal from the word go, as I've said, but to wrap it up, it's like here's the thing, and I've said this in the past on different streams, and I'll say it again, is I want Microsoft to excuse me, let me rephrase. I want Xbox to succeed as a gaming entity, because a stronger Xbox does, and this is where it's like I'm clearly not a fanboy here. Xbox as a strong brand makes for a stronger gaming ecosystem. It's like kind of a high tide raises all boats type situation. It's like, because it should inspire competition and growth, and it's like, oh, Xbox is doing well, we as Sony should be doing well. Oh, Sony and Xbox are doing well, we as Nintendo should be doing well. Everyone should be striving to one up one another in terms of like the games they make and their hardware, and then on that front. But I feel like what Microsoft and Xbox's business practices have been, which is what Microsoft's business practices have always been, is let's just instead of building something from the ground up, we'll just buy it, which they have a long history of doing in the software department. I think they even got in trouble in like the 80s for stuff like that.
I think it was the 90s, but
or the 90s, yeah. So I mean, so that
or anything.
Yeah, no. I appreciate the correction. So I mean, it's clearly. I'm just now noticing Loco's a level 220 in this game. So,
wow.
So I mean, so it's definitely very much a them thing to do, but I just wish that they would just come in and compete the way that it's almost like it's like, okay, we're going to do a 300-meter dash, and then it's like two guys that are stretching and getting ready to run, and then someone pulls up in a wheelchair. It's like I'm still competing, because it's like I've got to work my arms. It's like, okay, but this is supposed to be played with your feet, not your arms. And then it's like they call go, and it's like and the guy with the wheelchair manages to keep up. It's like, who knows who wins the race? But it's like the guy with the wheelchair ends up keeping up, because it's like he's able to wheel it fast. It's like, it's not exactly the same thing.
I think the better instead of the wheelchair, replace that with like a car. Or
no, because a car would so easily outclass the runners. It's like, unless you were to drive 3 miles an hour, which is why I went with a wheelchair, because it's human powered instead of.
Okay, how about like one of those golf carts?
A golf cart could work, yeah. But it's like yeah, you get the fastest runners in the world and pair them against a golf cart. It's like it's a race and they're competing, but the golf cart does seem like it's not exactly playing as fairly as it could be, because it's a golf cart. So it's like, I mean, maybe if you just like treat your exclusives better and you don't squander Halo for the last decade, and because Halo hasn't really been a marquee title in the industry for like a decade. It's ever since 343 took over. However long that is since that's happened. It's like, I mean, it's like I can remember late elementary and middle school. It's like Halo was like the video game, and It's like everyone was playing it. It was a huge deal. It's like, I can remember when Halo 3 came out and all the kids at school wanting to play it. I mean, these are kids in the 5th grade. They're wanting to play Halo 3. I'm like, that game's rated for mature. It's got naughty language words in it. It's like, and blood. It's like, we can't be playing that. We're too young. And everyone ignored me because Halo 3 is awesome. Or so I've heard. Again, never played it. But
it's a little overrated, but it was a great system seller in the early years of the Xbox.
So it's like I can remember when that game dominated, and then one day it just Bungie leaves, and then it just kind of Halo's become this kind of punchline. It's a joke. It's like no matter how good 343 does in one area, they are equally, if not more, terrible in another area, and it's again, this is just from an outside perspective. I feel like I've actually tried to give Halo and 343 a lot of the benefit of the doubt because I see some similarities between them and DICE, especially recently with Battlefield.
The parent company kind of like kneecaps them.
Yeah, it's like, well, if they just got to do what they wanted to do, that it wouldn't really be much of an issue.
Yeah,
it's like, leave them alone.
Yeah, I'm not well versed in how all that has played out. I've heard reports of they're not. Microsoft's kneecapping them for some reason.
Well, 343 basically doesn't even exist at this point, so.
Yeah. Oh boy. Got him.
So it's like maybe don't do that to what is supposed to be your I mean, in terms of the importance of the studio. I mean, 343 was supposed to be their Naughty Dog because of the marquee title that they're making. So it's like it is just really odd that they just squandered that, and so it is one of those things. It's like, well, their management style doesn't seem to be great because there for a minute they were kind of winning. The Xbox 360 was a very popular console because when you think about it, it's like that console had a 40% failure rate because you had a 40%, if you bought one, you had a 40% chance of it dying on you and you having to get another one, and people, there was no great big upset, people throwing their arms in the air in outrage and forcing refunds and everything. It's like everyone just kind of accepted it because the first and third party games that were coming out at the time for the system were really good.
I would say, firstly, yes, there was quite an uproar over the Red Ring problem. Secondly, what was I gonna? I
mean, clearly there wasn't enough of an outroar for it to really dent console sales.
Yeah, no, because they released, because that was just the initial batch, launch window. They quickly came out with new models, and that fixed that problem. But yeah, also, in no fault of their own, Microsoft also didn't really have to compete with Sony too much because PS3.
I mean, yeah.
In the early years before Uncharted 2, which is where the tides really started to turn.
Mm-hmm. And I think it is worth noting that Sony actually did win that generation by a margin, but that was also really thanks to the fact that Xbox is really only popular in the Americas. It's not. It's like Europe and Asia is still Sony's territory to dominate, especially at that time. So they had that little bit of a buffer. They had a buffer thanks to that.
Don't forget the poor man's 8th generation console. Or
the Wii.
7th. The Wii. My baby. My beloved.
So I think that's also a great big indicator just how badly Sony messed up in the early days of the PS3.
Yeah.
Is that the 360 was able to come in and dominate like it did, because the Xbox One was the original Xbox. The original Xbox was popular, but it really was the 360 that cemented.
I feel like it did better than the GameCube, but that's just because the GameCube. And even I don't know the full extent of why the GameCube was kind of just floundering there for a while.
They can't handle our
Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, I mean, there was a time when it's like, because I can remember when Halo 3 came out. I can remember in middle school when everyone was playing Black Ops and Modern Warfare 2 on their 360s, and that was like part of the, not to get that personal, but it was one of the things that partly made me an outcast at school, is that everyone's like getting together and playing video games, and it's like, I want to play. It's like, oh, well, give us your Xbox Live ID. It's like, well, I have a PS3. And everyone's like, who has a PS3? You're such a nerd for having a PS3. And it's like, oh.
Think about me.
But I like Ratchet and Clank.
Wii.
So you're also like a couple years younger though, so it's not so the timing doesn't exactly fit. But
yeah, maybe kids sucked worse back then than they did in my day.
So eventually the PS3 did turn around with, like, you start getting the really good exclusives like Uncharted 2 and the Ratchet and Clank Future Trilogy is out, and Infamous. It's like, oh gosh, I miss Infamous. It's stuff like all sorts of stuff like that. Sony really started making a name for itself again. But even then, it's like, and this is where I wish that things we could compete normally and not have to buy out giant conglomerate companies in order to compete. It's that we could just do things, and it's like it's like if something's not working, then maybe try to experiment a little bit, because it's like I think, for my money, the PS4 and the PS5 are brilliant consoles, but I love and I miss the mid to late PS3 era, with how wacky things got, and a lot of the games
wacky
that
and consistently good.
That it's like, because you had what Sony is known for now with Uncharted and Infamous, and with it's like with the third person action adventure games, but then
Puppeteer.
PlayStation Move, PlayStation Move, notwithstanding, but it's like, but it's like, but then there was stuff like Mod Nation Racers, and then it's like, oh, what was the one you mentioned a second ago?
Puppet Crafter, Puppeteer.
No, not that one. You mentioned I thought you mentioned something else ago, a moment ago.
I mean, I might have. Knack.
Mag. No, Little Big Planet. That's what I was thinking of. It's like, that was when Little Big Planet came out, and it's like that was really cute and experimental. That was when that's when you were starting to get a lot of really kind of artsy games on the PSN back when like downloadable games were kind of a new thing. So you were starting to get things like Journey and The Unfinished Swan and Flower.
Yeah, you were also getting a lot. You still had a healthy dose of Japan in that lineup too, like from Sony. Not like Final Fantasy or like any of that. I'm saying we had everybody. Hot Shots Golf is still happening.
Yeah, Hot Shots Golf. That's a good one. Shoot, I just had it.
Pretty good one back then too, from what I heard.
I had a game in mind. I just forgot about it. Hold on. Shoot. That's so annoying because I had it.
What's the game like?
Was it a game where you played as a dude?
Did he shoot things, or did he talk things?
Well, I mean, that was even like the start. So speaking of a game that talked to things, I mean, that was the start of like Quantic Dream and their kind of rise to prominence with stuff like Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls.
Yep. And then the present happened, and no one really likes to think of that company anymore. I wonder why.
And then even just their marketing campaigns at the time were very, it's like, okay, we know we messed up, so we're really going to try and and win you guys back with it's like with memorable and interesting interesting commercials with Kevin Butler. It's the slogans at the time for it's like it only does everything, and kind of showcasing the X and B that was good. But then after that, I think that the next one was better. It's the long live play. It's like it was sponsoring Sony exclusives a lot, but then there was also a lot of third party stuff that they were showing off, and it's like just this idea of like, hey, gaming's fun. Let's play games. That I think really benefits the industry when we look past the petty rivalries and focus on just making good games.
I do miss that late 2000s advertising sort of era. I don't know, it felt different. Yeah, like you said, you mentioned Kevin Butler and all of those. I go back to like We Would Like to Play and some of those.
Oh yeah, with the two guys at the door, with the Japanese guys at the door with the Wii remote. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, We Would Like to Play, and then there were a few other Nintendo ones that were just like minimalistic, but they got the point across. And then there was the Wii U ones, but
we just don't talk about the Wii U.
No.
What's a Wii U?
Is
that a thing I can buy to add to the Wii?
Yes,
probably
it is,
what
Mother. There was an entire commercial that was targeted towards kids to try to explain what a Wii U was.
Well, I even remember I even remember like some of the DS commercials at the time, where it's supposed to be like a Christmas pageant, but they had a new Mario themed DSL out or something, and so like instead of
I think it was either a DSi XL or I think it was a DSi XL.
But instead of the kids putting on the Christmas pageant like they were supposed to, it ended up being them singing the Mario theme. It's like we all want Nintendo DS lights for Christmas. Da 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 da. It's like, and it was very very cute, and like they made cardboard props to look like the characters and advertise the game. So it's like that era of marketing was really cool, and it's like I've been shot in the back. It's like
There's one where Kirby and a finger go out on a date.
I remember that, actually. You just brought that back from the recesses of my mind.
I was hoping I'd get a weird, you're lying to me.
No, I remember that. I remember that, so you don't have to...
Mental images I could live without.
Yes.
Oh no.
I would make another joke, but I think we're live, so I'm going
to
refrain from that.
Yeah, don't.
Yeah, that's good. Refrain. So it's like, I as weird as it is to say, I really wish that Xbox hadn't lost the Xbox One generation, because I guess they just feel like they can't compete at this point, and Sony has gotten very complacent. Like, I don't think there's any realm where you can say current Sony is bad, especially with the output of the games that they're putting out. It's just like hit after hit after hit after hit, and they're all like high quality games, so you can't really complain about that. But it's like there's not really that much experimentation going on anymore with Sony, and
yeah.
So
my
it's
complaint has always been it feels samey.
Yeah,
it's like
mostly sequels or pretty surefire cards, and this seems ironic actually, considering I know both me and Prentice were quite upset when we learned that they're never gonna do anything more with Days Gone, or not do a new Days Gone sequel, which might sound a little ironic considering I just said that
all they do is sequels.
All they do is sequels, but that's also one of those things where Days Gone were kind of, I wouldn't call it experimental, but it definitely did.
It was a little different.
Yeah, it was a little different. It wasn't.
It was familiar in the ways it needed to be familiar, and it was different in the ways it needed to be different.
It wasn't
Because-
just, oh great, here's another open world game that plays exactly the same. It's, it is an open world game, it has a lot of those familiar tropes, but it's also doing some, unique things that I can't say I've seen in, say, Horizon or any Ubisoft game, where like, okay, they kind of made it their own, and I wish we could get more of that, especially in a new and improved way, and also with the, that plot twist reveal that kind of makes
That will go
everything
nowhere.
different. Yeah, we're like, hold up, that like.
Yeah, you have to beat the game to find out, and then you realize there's no sequel ever coming out ever. So it's like, oh well.
Yeah. And if it were not for that, I mean, sure, I would be a little disappointed, but I probably wouldn't be as upset with the, we're not getting a sequel. Well, that storyline felt pretty done and everything. I don't necessarily need more. But after that, secret plot twist ending, I'm like, hold up, what? You can't just leave this.
Well, and then because the biggest problem with Days Gone before launch was that when they announced it, everyone was going, because we already knew that The Last of Us Part 2 was coming. So they announced it, and it's like, wait, another zombie game? You already have one of those. It's like, why are you making another one? And then
it did seem a little redundant.
And then when they were showing off the gameplay combat loop for the first time, the UI, especially in those early alpha builds, it's like, well, this is Horizon. So you've put zombies in Horizon and called it something new. Okay. And so no one really kind of took it seriously at first. Then the game came out, and they gave a bugged version of it to reviewers. And so it's like the game, there was like the world was against the game from the very start for a myriad of reasons, and it's really too bad, because then it's like 3 months later, I bought it for for $20 off when it was on sale. I'm like, let's get this a whirl, and I'm like, okay, I really, really enjoyed that.
Hostile care package inbound.
Well, I mean, considering it was made by the guys who made Bubsy 3D, I don't think the universe looks too kindly upon them to begin with. I'm not saying that as a knock against Bend. I'm just saying that as an observation. They've had a rough history.
Enemy counter spy plane inbound.
Also, with the
aside
lack of
from
Metal
filter.
Gear... Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, I was going to say, with the lack of Metal Gear Solid, or at least new MGS entries, we could really use a Psycho filter to fill that void. I know they are the same.
Especially since Splinter Cell ain't doing it.
Yeah.
Nope. Well, yeah, because Ubisoft's like in the middle of imploding right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's another thing that's really just bothered me about this whole thing. It's like, this is really what the industry has come to, is we're just now going to get into a cold war of buying other publishers instead of being fun and experimental and stuff now, especially in a time and age when multiplayer is really huge, and it's, well, and for one thing, I mean, Sony is responding in a way is that they have 10 games as a service in development right now. So that's,
That is not what I want to hear.
Yeah, no, but that's
I only
the truth.
have one I want to deal with, thank you.
Enemies contesting Alpha.
So
And that's just, adding more to the, ain't nobody got time to play anything.
Right, yeah.
Yep.
So, what I'm worried about is that their single player games, which everyone for the most part loves, like, that's going to be their sequel territory. We're not really going to get any new ideas there, and it's going to be the purpose, in some cases purposely sent out to die games as a service where their experimentation is going to be, and then they're going to say, well, that was a failed experiment, and never revisit that idea again, when it may have just been that would have worked better as a single player instead of a games as a service. So maybe you shouldn't have done that. So
now, if only I could give an example of that, like, I don't know, something to do with superheroes.
No, not ringing
Ringing
a
the
bell.
bells.
Can you? No, I'm pretty sure if a game existed, we'd be hearing about it.
Semtex prime. To their last man. Put them out of their misery.
ha!
Yeah.
I think I got the last kill of the Semtex.
Nice.
So yeah, it's just like, especially, it's like, if one of those games as a service was like, a new Mod Nation Racers, it's like, I think there is room in, this multiplayer dominated landscape to have something a little more, innocent and child friendly instead of, Call of Duty. That is that is very much blood and guts and war and curse words and stuff. And and for a lot of it's something to appeal to players that's not necessarily an obvious Fortnite ripoff, because so many people just find that unsettling. Because Fortnite is just this super weird cacophony of mix and match different IPs, and it's just this weird crossovers used to be quaint, but now they are a.
I think we could blame it on the MCU. I really think that's a fair assessment with Avengers and all that.
I mean, yeah, to a degree for sure, but. What?
Did it?
Okay. Screw this map.
Why? What happened?
It happened again.
What's happened again? What's happened again?
Package.
Oh no! Oh no! Where is it?
Can I?
I'm being shot.
Okay, I can get it. Okay, good. Never mind. Okay, this map.
Wait, you can get up there? Oh, I didn't know you could get up here. Huh, look at that.
Get up there.
How about that?
Also, to add to the, they may not experimental, and also bringing it back to COD. If I were Sony in this situation, I would probably start thinking about, okay, right now we have secured COD. It may actually not go away. But what if it does?
Mm-hmm.
That means that they might, how many games a service had a plan, did you say?
10.
10. So let's say 4 or 5 or those are, shooters that could compete with COD. Which isn't, very original, especially if they're going for something similar. Now, granted, they do have a few options if they, unless they are going from scratch, but they could revisit some of their
SOCOM
old franchises. Yeah, like SOCOM or Killzone or Resistance. So they have options.
Not to rain on your parade with that, but Guerrilla Games did put out like a thing the other day, and it sounded pretty definitive that it's like, we are never touching Killzone ever again. We're all on board Horizon now, and I suppose there is a case to be made for never say never, but it's like, based on what because they kind of just listed all the mistakes they made with Killzone. It's like, here's how we didn't make those mistakes with Horizon. So
yeah, so that my overall point was with this wasn't going to be, this could be good for, I'm saying more that it could be, because there may be a future where COD isn't on PlayStation. They're gonna want to have some sort of shooter, or so they're gonna throw out several shooters. They could do something new, but still, similar to COD. They could bring out older IPs like those mentioned, but possibly, as much as I would like Killzone to return, I'm also kind of, maybe it's better to let it rest instead of, resurrecting it as a games as a service.
Just make it backwards compat on the PS5 without having to stream it, and we'll call it good.
Yeah, like
if anything, 1 could use a remake just altogether.
Yeah.
2 and 3 are fine. I played a little bit of 2, not too much because my PS3 keeps dying.
Yeah,
so I can't really vouch for it, but
Yeah, but the overall point was just that we're just gonna get all these different, similar shooters, and it's also gonna stifle creativity because it's all just shooters with guns and explosions and swear words. And as much as I enjoy that, I also don't want another situation like we had when it was just World War II shooter, World War II shooter, World War II shooter, followed by Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare, Modern Warfare, followed by Future Warfare, Future Warfare, Future Warfare, where it's just
back to World War II for a second.
Yeah, it's just all the same. It doesn't matter whether I buy COD or Medal of Honor or Battlefield, it's all the same game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want that either.
Yeah. And honestly, I think right now in our political landscape, the less World War II we have to do, the better. I don't want any Nazis. Just saying, Hearts of Iron I think is kind of awful now. At least
you mean you
don't
don't want to be able to buy an emote for $3.99 on the PlayStation Store that allows you to Heil Hitler?
Just a little. Just a little.
Totally for
like,
the memes.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing else. No ideologues at all.
Imagine if a game actually did that, and then it becomes like a meme, an actual meme. Like it's like like that thing takes on a different meaning. Like dab on him, but it's like Heil on him.
Oh man, no! I don't even want to think about it.
It's like I feel like that's one of those things that a TV show would make fun of, but I've thought the same thing about a lot of the different situations we found ourselves in recently. It's like, this is satire, right? This isn't real life. So it's like it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of our overall thoughts on everything and why we're not pleased with the direction everything is gone. And then also, just as a kind of a final quick, it's like, for anyone hoping that Microsoft is gonna revive a lot of the dormant Activision IP and take
probably not.
and take the studios that make Call of Duty off of Call of Duty, it's like, I have bad news for you. That's not happening.
Yeah,
I think we would all love for it to happen. We could use more Spyro, more Crash in our lives.
Well, you know what I think? I think as a gesture of good faith, Microsoft should just give them to Sony. It's like, hey, we don't need these, and these were kind of yours anyway, so there you go. We'll be nice. It's like,
and if you want a stipulation, it has to be a multi-plat. There.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, we'll give you.
Also, open up your, at least with PC, but.
So it's because it's like, when the deal, when the thing was announced last January or whatever, and so my initial thought was like, oh, Call of Duty and it's like, and King and Candy Crush, it's like, that's so much money. But then I was like, hang on a second, Spyro and Crash are Xbox games now? What? I was just like flabbergasted.
It's such a weird time. And also to add to that, what about this, COD support studios? Maybe they'll finally be able to make their own games or different games or bring some other, like, I've also seen some people be like, oh, what if Infinity Ward were to make a Halo game? And I'm like, that's not gonna happen. I don't think, and if you think about it for 2 seconds, I think you're gonna realize that actually, no, you don't want that.
Yeah. It's like, oh, they turned Halo into Call of Duty. I can't believe that.
Yeah, not that it's gonna happen anyway. I find that idea to be even more ludicrous than, maybe they'll let Raven Software finally make their own games again. Singularity 2, let's go!
If
And you and the
anything,
one other guy who
after
understands what that game is, applauded.
if anything, I feel like that maybe with some other help from like some of the Microsoft stuff, maybe they let Raven take the lead on a Call of Duty instead of. It's like that's what yeah.
Or
'Cause I mean-
Treyarch, but that's not
Because
happening.
I haven't played it. I haven't played it yet. I don't even actually have it installed. But I've heard that the Cold War campaign is good, and Raven did that. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's not
Is it-
my
is it at
favorite
least,
COD
like,
campaign, but I
Opposite?
do. Yeah.
it's by the sounds of it though, it's like far from the worst. Like no, it's not the best, but
Yeah.
it's like it is not the worst.
Yeah, absolutely no. Absolutely yes. It is pretty good. It's not one of the campaigns I went away being like, oh man, that was so amazing. I'm gonna remember it for years. But I did very much enjoy it, and if anything, there were a couple of things in it that were like, these are actually excellent ideas. It's a shame they weren't more expanded upon. Like those are really my biggest issue with the campaign, and I'd say that's, I mean, for a COD campaign, that's pretty good. When I walk away from, oh man, if they only expanded on this and that. Oh man.
Instead of why wasn't the dog playable for longer? You spent so much time in your marketing. Why wasn't the dog playable for longer?
Now, there is one thing, going back to, what about the, other COD studios? There is one, there are some things that I do think, I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I also wouldn't be surprised if, say, other Xbox properties ends up being, crossover to COD and Warzone. Run around in the Warzone as Master Chief, picking up a blueprint of a melee weapon that's the plasma sword. I wouldn't be surprised.
We have the Gears stuff. I haven't played too much of that.
I mean,
For some reason, Banjo-Kazooie's in the game now.
Warzone would really be their Fortnite.
It would. It would. For better or for worse, it would.
Yeah.
Because and that stuff would actually make sense. Unlike it's like, oh hey, here's the Terminator, and it's just a whole bunch of other random stuff that they've thrown in over the.
Just saying,
over the years at this
Terminator might be
point.
one of the few characters who has been in both Fortnite and Mortal Kombat.
COD.
Oh,
And Gears of War.
And Gears of War, that's right.
I don't know if it was the T-800, to be fair, but I know you can play as a Terminator, and I'm pretty sure Sarah Connor ended up there.
Sarah Connor, I remember in something else, but I don't remember what it was.
Yeah, that was a weird time when the Terminator just showed up everywhere.
Yeah, now that I think of it,
Ghost Recon, Mortal Kombat.
Oh, I forgot about Ghost Recon. They had Sam Fisher canonically talking about Terminators.
Yeah, it's still a little weird, even him in Mortal Kombat, although it makes a bit more sense than in Fortnite, but...
Well, at least fighting games kind of had that precedent. Like, I don't know about Mortal Kombat in general, but fighting games like Street Fighter, for instance, have always had like guest fighters from.
I think you're thinking of Tekken and Soul Cal because.
Yes, you're right. Like
Namco
Soul Calibur
specifically
have that
Yoda
Star Wars
and
characters.
Yoda and Vader and Starkiller.
And Starkiller. Oh, don't forget Link in the GameCube version only, and Spawn in the Xbox version of 2. I don't know. I'm trying to think of some other guest characters. Like those are the most famous ones. Oh, Left 4 Dead. What's that zombie show on AMC that I can't think of the name
Walking
of right
Dead?
now? Thank you. One of the characters made it into Tekken 7.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that.
And Snoop Dogg got
I
a stage
think I
in Tag
remember that
Tournament,
too.
So I think we got time for one more game here before we need to call it quits. So for the last game, let's go ahead and shift topics because we teased it earlier. It's like, let's talk about this game.
Oh boy.
Yep.
So Daxter, do you want to go first?
I've had more enjoyable illnesses than this game's controls.
Oh,
Ooh.
put that
This
on the
game's-
box.
This game is stiffer than me in the morning. And no one's sure how to take that. I'm glad I'm ambiguous. This game just feels like... It does not feel as smooth and polished as Modern Warfare 2019.
No, it's. And I remember that from the beta when we played
Yeah.
the beta.
That was actually gonna be my main point about this because, I mean, there are issues here and there. I do have questions, but I do think that the biggest problem with this game isn't actually anything with the game itself. It's more the fact that it came out after Modern Warfare 19 that had the new engine, new graphics, new feel, everything
Imagine
was
they
improved.
did this instead of Black Ops 4.
Yeah, like
That
that.
might have- yeah.
I would have been totally on board with that. And honestly, I think looking at this, from isolation, I do think it's pretty decent. It's not my favorite COD, but it is quite enjoyable. But
Classic map.
whatever enjoyment I may have is hampered by the fact that, this feels rough after Modern Warfare 19. And it feels like playing a COD game from before that era.
Yeah. So in the PS4, Xbox One era, this is right after the heights that it faced in the 7th generation. And into this
exactly.
weird, we're not really sure where to go from there.
Yeah, I mean, like Prentice said, if this had, come out instead of Black Ops 4, I probably would be more positive. I mean, it would be fitting right in there after, after World War II, and then having...
You moved to the Cold War.
Yeah, and from that progression, it would make more... I mean, it would be more enjoyable, definitely. But when you go from Modern Warfare 19, that jumps the series forward in a lot of ways, and then what comes next is this, then it's like,
Everything you loved about Black Ops. And then forgot that you actually didn't care for in Black Ops. Yeah, yikes, yeah, and then...
Yeah, I feel the same about the movement, yeah.
Yeah. This is the point you brought up.
The movement does feel off. And again, especially after Modern Warfare 19. If this, was after World War II, I don't think it would be that weird, but the fact that it's following on Modern Warfare 19 just makes it... What? Oh, this is rough. It just makes it so much rougher than it actually is.
Yeah.
Now, I will say something I do, to be positive about it. I do like, just from what I've seen from the multiplayer maps, because again, I haven't played the campaign, but what I've seen from the multiplayer maps, I do like this game's aesthetic. The gritty looking 80s. It does, even though it's set two decades later, it does give me Black Ops 1 nostalgia a little bit in a lot of ways, especially with like the gun I'm using right now, the XM4. It's like that feels very Black Ops 1 to me. It's like, and I like Black Ops 1 a lot. I've got a lot of fond memories of that game. So it's like, okay, I could it's like, but at the same time it's like, I really would just like a remaster of Black Ops 1. It's like, even if it's just the campaign. Help.
Also the fact that it has several classic Black Ops 1 and 2 maps definitely helps with that.
Yeah, and something that you've mentioned, Prentice, the sound design is awful.
Yeah, no, well, the Treyarch sound design has always
yeah.
been awful, so...
I mean, I can hear the sound when you reload the MP5 in my sleep, and that's like it's so obviously stock sound.
Yeah.
And I think about it every once in a while, going, ooh, ooh.
For instance, here's the MP5 reload sound effect right now.
That sounded terrible,
Yep.
and I wasn't even around you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's probably the same sound effect that they used for the MP5 in Black Ops 1.
It
I
wouldn't
wouldn't be
surprise me,
surprised.
actually.
It is incredibly, yeah. It's incredibly stock sounding.
Well, and then like all their little tinks of like, grenades. Oh! I downed the bunny man!
That's about Doc.
Of the the little tinks of the grenades and stuff that they've definitely been using since like World at War and stuff. So yeah, there is a.
And that's also not factoring in the development for this game, which
was like 6 months.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Can someone please just kill Crunch Culture already?
Well, again, if you want to blame anyone, blame Sledgehammer. I mean, I guess ultimately it's like Activision still decided to put the game out when they put it out, but Sledgehammer. Because they were the ones that messed up. They're the ones that messed up enough to where they got taken off of their game.
What you're talking about.
Yep.
Because if they hadn't gotten removed, then
Owie.
Now that being said, I am actually kind of curious about the next Black Ops. Purely because it will actually be using the Modern Warfare engine. Now it might still play quite different, but I'd imagine, I would imagine that it is gonna feel a bit more similar. And also, this is like the first time in a long while they've actually gotten the full cycle. I think they might even have gotten an extra year.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah, because if rumors are true and Sledgehammer is doing Modern Warfare 3, if that is what's coming out this year, because we still have no official release or confirmation about what's going on, then no, that's why you don't play with your food. Then yeah, Treyarch would have had, since this game came out in 2020. So they would have had 2021, 2022, and 2023, and then they would release in 2024. So they'd have 4 full years to work out a video game. So it's like, it better be the best dang Black Ops they've ever made, that's for sure. With that much time, because imagine it comes out and it's just meh at best. It's like, oof. It's like, because honestly, I feel like Treyarch only cares about zombies at this point.
Yep.
It's like, because
that's definitely what they care about the most, yeah. Because
the fact that they didn't even I mean the decision had already been made, but the fact that like there wasn't really an effort for them to like have much like input in the campaign, it seems like that was all, like that was pretty much all Raven. It's like, it seems like it was always going to be a Cold War story, then they threw the Black Ops characters in there last minute when Treyarch was brought on board. But it's like, that seems to all have been from Raven's, from Raven's side of things. So it's like, and then of course the fact that they worked on a campaign for a little bit for Black Ops 4 and then decided to just ditch it. And not really, there didn't really seem to be they didn't really seem to think that there was a problem with ditching the campaign for Black Ops 4. It's like, okay.
I think also when you consider what they were planning for that campaign and also their original plan for the Black Ops 3 campaign, like it definitely felt more gameplay focused than wanting to tell a story. It was just, here's another mode for you to play. And I don't know, part of me, admittedly, would be interested in seeing an open world COD or kind of that.
Yeah, I would too.
Mix between
In between,
like that weird mix between co-op and. And I know
PvE.
Is Combat Infinity had like a term for that co-op, something where it's both co-op but also competitive at the same time, where you have two people
Asymmetrical
in one. Yeah, not really asymmetrical. That's no, I know there is a term for it. I just can't remember it at the top of my head. Where there is a co-op element, but also a versus mode to it. You have 4 players and they're split in 2 teams. It's kind of co-op but PvP at the same time. I don't know how else to explain it.
VIP is taking fire. Keep the package safe.
Zip, get over here, get over here, get over here. On me. Yep.
Oh, on me! Donnie Darko!
Under fire.
Oh!
Oh, come on, no!
Oh!
That guy was so unaware of his surroundings.
Yep.
Although I still think that the 80s aesthetic, I'm getting tired of it. It's getting annoying.
I do get that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everyone's kind of using it. It could use a breather.
I would definitely want more 90s aesthetics.
90s. I'd take 70s as well. But 90s would be more fun. I can't really think of many that have fully embraced that outside.
Yeah,
of
the
games from
60s
the
and
90s.
the 60s and the 80s definitely seem to get more attention in pop culture. The 70s and the 90s not so much. So it would be interesting to see that. Well, and it was funny because in Transformers recently they kind of did 90s, but they didn't really go all out on 90s. Where it's like the one thing that seemed to scream overwhelmingly 90s to me was the fact that the main character wore one of those teal and purple color scheme jackets that seemed to be prevalent. It's like what I call the Taco Bell colors.
Ooh, yeah.
Honestly, I had forgotten that movie was set in the 90s until you brought it up.
yeah. Because
Captain Marvel, which I enjoyed for several reasons, but one of them being that it was set in the 90s.
And they beat. That's like the other extreme where they beat you over the head with the fact that it's in the 90s. It's like, hey, here's an internet cafe. Hey, remember Blockbuster? Hey, remember all these movies that came out in the 90s? Here's some 90s music.
Yeah, it feels patronizing. Like really patronizing. Can't you just tell me it's in the 90s? I think most of us would know it. You don't need to be all quippy with it. It's why I get annoyed with video game movies and pointing out, oh, this is from the video game, almost as if they're screaming that.
So, anyway, on that note, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up here. Lots and lots of good discussion here about the various goings on and the whole thing with Activision and Microsoft, and it's I think we're maybe potentially in for an interesting couple of years. It's because this is kind of the calm before the storm, where it's the deals hasn't quite happened yet, but it seems imminent. It's imagine we do all this and then come Monday something bonkers happens and it ends up not happening. The CMA in the UK uncovers some sort of thing that Microsoft has done. It's it renders the whole deal null and void. It's
they rigged the music awards. I knew it.
So it's like something bonkers could still happen, but if it doesn't, then yeah, it seems like that it's going to go through. In which case, who knows? Maybe this is the start of a console Cold War. Bum bum. It's like dramatic trailer music. So yeah,
This summer.
Yeah, exactly. This the summer. John McClane, Captain Price, and some other third person. So yeah, I have been Princess Teen once again, joined by Coca-Cola. No goodbye.
Yippee-ki-yay.
Okay, I was wondering.
I couldn't think of anything else.
Okay, I mean it fits. It fits given your character skin. And of course, we've also been joined by Daxter Corp HD.
I am indifferent to all of this. Just make it end, please.
So,
Please.
alrighty, yep. Well, that will be the end of it. So, thank you for watching, and then we will see you on another thought-provoking game night. And just another thought to leave you on as we prepare to go is that Bobby Kotick's getting off scot-free for all the terrible things he did. Goodbye.